So, first of all, what is fibromyalgia? Um, Most people they know fibromyalgia for it being a chronic pain condition. So you've got chronic widespread pain, or sometimes it's called persistent pain, and that is pain that's lasted longer than usually, about 12 weeks, and it affects the entire body. Fatigue and exhaustion is the sort of next sort of main symptom, and then you've got non-refreshing sleep, and how we often describe that is doesn't matter how long you sleep, you could sleep a full 8 hours every night, but you'll wake up feeling just as tired. Um, and that's because people with fibromyalgia do not appear to go into the sort of deep restorative refreshing sleep that we need to give us that energy boost. And the other sort of main symptom is cognitive disturbances and confusion. So memory issues, lack of concentration, excuse me, just hand the phone over. Lack of concentration, mixing up words, forgetting words, just a sort of short-term memory, just forgetting things in general. So it can affect that. So that's the sort of four main core symptoms. A lot of people also have problems with like stomach, like IBS type conditions. Depression and anxiety can go alongside it. So there can be a lot of other sort of comorbid conditions alongside the fibromyalgia that bring other symptoms, um, as well as being a sensitivity to sort of environmental stuff. So might be sensitive to light, to sound, to smells, lots of different things. Like any health condition, it can affect you from either being very mild to very severe. And it can have a huge impact on the life of not only the person with fibromyalgia, but also their families and their carers, which I'm sure you all very much understand. So this can often lead people having to make lifestyle changes, maybe having to give up work or change work, and even just doing basic daily tasks or just running a household can become incredibly difficult. Um, At the moment, we believe that fibromyalgia impacts around 1 in 20 people in the UK. We don't have exact figures because the NHS don't code fibromyalgia as a separate symptom in a lot of cases. It's classed in amongst other conditions. So we don't have an up-to-date exact figure, but we reckon it's about that 1 in 20. And it impacts women more than it does men. And at the moment, that's thought to be around 7 to 1. Excuse me, can't think. This is a symptom of my fibromyalgia for me personally, is it affects my throat when I'm talking. So what causes it? Again, we're still unsure the exact cause, but for the majority of people, there tends to be some sort of trigger. So that can be a physical trauma or injury, an accident, an operation. In my own situation, it was giving birth to my daughter 30 years ago. Um, but also it can be from an emotional or a mental trauma. So it could be a bereavement, an abusive relationship, just going through a really stressful period in your life. But there's also some people who don't have a particular reason for their fibromyalgia starting, and they can't actually pinpoint when the symptoms started or what triggered it. Getting a fibromyalgia diagnosis can be very difficult and it can take several years. The average that they say can take 18 months to 2 years, but from experience and from speaking with others, it often can take much longer. It can be a complex condition and the symptoms often overlap with other conditions, such as arthritis, lupus, MS. So often you'll find that their doctor, health professional, will be doing lots of tests to rule out other conditions. Um, And it's often once these tests all come back clear that a fibromyalgia diagnosis is considered. The Royal College of Physicians, they do diagnostic guidelines on their website, and the sort of is basically taking your own sort of medical history, but also two questionnaires that they can use, the widespread pain index and the symptom severity score. And these are basically tick box questionnaires, but you get a score for each box you tick. And if you've got over a certain amount, then that points towards a fibromyalgia diagnosis. Treating fibromyalgia at the moment, we've got no cure. So treatment can be focused on just managing the basics, the symptoms. Um, and for most people, that is managing their pain. So previously, that's been a combination with pain medication, antidepressants, and anti-epileptic medications. The NICE guidelines in 2021 recommend antidepressants only for fibromyalgia. Therefore, someone who's been diagnosed recently might not be offered some medications that were offered previously. Um, Along with antidepressants, the NICE guidelines recommended cognitive behaviour therapy and talking therapies, acupuncture, and exercise and activity. We like to use the word activity and just basically keeping active more than exercise is for some people with fibromyalgia, especially the more severe end, um, the thought of being told to go and exercise and maybe an image of going to the gym, um, just basically scares them. And it's just something to be out with their reach. But keeping active can be as simple as sitting in a chair at home and doing some chair exercises, or going for a walk out round the garden or down to the bottom of the road and back up. Um, and exercises such as Tai Chi and yoga, etc., have also been found to be really beneficial for people with fibromyalgia, as is exercise and water. And many people find that they can exercise easier where the water's helping to take some of the weight bearing off their joints and muscles. Um, when There's been some research into fibromyalgia, and they've found through doing functional MRI scans that people with fibromyalgia process pain in a different way from people without fibromyalgia, and this also affects people where things that shouldn't be painful are registered as pain. So, for example, someone was to just poke you in the arm. For most people, that would just be I thought, ouch, and I think nothing of it. But for someone with fibromyalgia, the brain would sort of say, "Oh, that's painful," and then turn the pain dial up to 12 and amplify the pain. Um, if anyone's interested in the sort of scientific stuff, there is a good article called The Science of Fibromyalgia by Daniel Claw and others, and that has explains all about the research that was done around this. Other research is showing that people with fibromyalgia, within the spinal fluid, they've got imbalance of certain chemicals. So they've got extra substance P, which is a chemical that causes pain. They've got extra nerve growth factor and glutamate, but they've got less serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. So there's this chemical imbalance going on that they've been able to determine. And this points towards why sometimes antidepressants can help with fibromyalgia symptoms because they help to boost the serotonin and the dopamine depending on what medication you're on. A sort of common term that's used for what goes on with fibromyalgia is central nervous system sensitivity or central amplification. And in simple terms, it's basically the pain dial has been turned up so that it's constantly on high. Um, Other research factors that have been going on recently have included into small fibre neuropathy and autoimmune connections, but these are still ongoing and have had no sort of definite answers as to the way forward yet. So, bit about now about Fibromyalgia UK as a charity. Our mission is to improve the lives of people with fibromyalgia, and we do that through increasing awareness of the condition, improving access to treatment, and providing support to those living with fibromyalgia and their family, their carers, their friends. Because having fibromyalgia doesn't just affect the person who has it, it affects everyone in their sort of close family circle and those caring for them. We're head office, we're based in Paisley, which is just southwest of Glasgow. Um, the charity is run mainly by volunteers. We've got a small staff team in the office. There's myself, I do the office admin, Linda does with fundraising, and Sarah helps out with social media and admin support. Other than that, we're board of trustees and all the other roles within the charity is carried out by volunteers. Um, and it's one of those things that we couldn't run and do what we do without them, so it's very much volunteer led. How do we provide support? What do we do? So one of our sort of main things is we provide information booklets. For people living with fibromyalgia and we provide information packs. So our main one is our patient information booklet, and as well as being aimed at the person with fibromyalgia, there's also a section in there that has some information for family and carers to try and help them understand a bit more about how they can help the person. We have a booklet for young people. Fibromyalgia can affect you at any age, and I think the youngest I've heard been diagnosed was 5. But yeah, so we have one that covers sort of young people and teenagers up to sort of leaving school, going to college. We also have a health professionals booklet, and this is similar information to our patient booklet, but it also has all the references, etc., that a health professional might want to go and sort of follow up on. And we have our employment booklets for anyone who's still in work. We have two, one for the person as an employee, but we also have one for them to give to their employer that helps the employer to understand how they can help support that person. So that's with information booklets. We have two helplines. We have our national helpline, which is a general helpline, and it's available Monday to Friday, 10 to 4. And it's again run by volunteers. And it's just we're there to answer any questions on fibromyalgia and anything connected to it. And again, it's not just for the person with fibromyalgia. We have family, we have carers phone, we have health professionals, social prescribers can phone up on behalf of the person. So we get a variety of calls from different people. We also have a benefits helpline where we have qualified benefits advisors, and that they're there just to help with any specific questions and advice that's required on obtaining benefits. We have online support. We've got our social media pages. We're on the usual Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Um, but we also have a Facebook support group where people can talk to each other, ask questions, and we also have a support forum through Health Unlocked for people who don't like to use Facebook or social media. Um, as well as the online support, we also have links and support 100 plus local support groups. As I mentioned, although we're based up in Scotland, we are a UK charity. So we have groups from north of Scotland right down to South England, everywhere in between. And we'll provide support and help for groups if they're starting up, but also while they're going, if they're needing any assistance, we'll provide that support and send out information to them and help them with resources. Um, so along with that, it's sort of the sort of direct support we provide to person with fibromyalgia, but in general, we do a lot of awareness raising campaigns. Um, just raising awareness of fibromyalgia, especially 12th of May is International Awareness Day, so we'll try and do something then. And also we had normally have an awareness week in September as well, where we'll just try and get, if we can, we'll get things into the media. Although often it'll be the media will come to us and ask for case studies or for an interview, because there's something going on that they want to sort of pick up on. Um, so we do with that. We're also involved in research studies, so we're stakeholders in research studies where we give feedback, we give information, and give that patient perspective uh, on different uh, things to do with fibromyalgia. We also promote a lot of research studies that are done through people at universities doing PhDs, and they're doing dissertations or studies to do with their work. So we'll share that when they're looking for people with fibromyalgia to take part. Uh, and again, some of these will be the carer that they're trying to get the carer's input as well as the person with fibromyalgia. So when we do get research such as that, it goes on our social media platforms for people to share, and also it goes out into our newsletter. And it's just realised that's the one thing I've not mentioned yet is we do a newsletter. It normally goes out towards the end of the month. And again, it's just what's happening in the world of fibromyalgia, any research news. We try and do a spotlight on one of our support groups. Uh, so lots of different activities going on there. The charity itself does not receive any sort of government funding, so all our funding comes from donations, fundraisers, etc. Um, and that's what enables us to do what we do. Um, so just giving a couple of posts there that just was images to show you. So as I say, with information packs, is send out thousands across the UK every year, and occasionally we do send them abroad, but normally we sort of do it online whenever possible if they're not in the UK. And there's two ways of getting them. You can either order a printed copy of the booklets, and we'll post them out from the office, but they're also available online on our website. And I can actually send a copy of the slides if that helps after the meeting, but I can send all the links and everything to get booklets and information rather than people trying to take a note of them. As I say, so for the information parts, in our newsletter, we just say we do that, sending out, keeping people up to date and giving them information of what's happening.